Exactly 22 years ago, the Chinese Communist Party, home to one of the largest military forces on earth, felt threatened. That's by a group of Chinese people sitting or standing in silence. On April 25, 1999, over 10,000 practitioners of the spiritual meditation system, Falun Gong, gathered in Beijing to ask for the right to freely practice their faith. Shi Caidong was one of them, then a 28-year-old PhD candidate at China's Academy of Science. Falun Gong's popularity exploded in China in the early 90s. Officials estimate that around 70 million people were practicing at the time, 5 million more people than were the members of the Chinese Communist Party. Even before April 1999, there were signs that the party didn't favor the practice. Their books were banned, state media portrayed the group as a cult, and riot police had used high-pressure water cannons to disperse peaceful meditators in city parks. But Shi said he wasn't worried when he went to appeal, despite the party's history of intolerance. Just 10 years before, the regime ordered a bloody crackdown against demonstrators in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. Troops there opened fire on unarmed student protesters, who had gathered to ask for democracy.
In my heart, I felt that I had not done anything against the law. I was just cultivating my character and following the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. So I wasn't afraid. I didn't do anything against my morals. I have nothing to fear.
Shi and other demonstrators sat or stood quietly around Zhongnanhai, where China's top communist officials live. Traffic was not blocked. China's then Premier Zhu Rongji soon came out to speak.
He stood in the middle of the practitioners. He asked, "Do you guys have representatives? If so, we can go in to discuss the matter." Many of the practitioners there came from rural areas. They had never seen such a high-ranking official in their lives. So they didn't know what to say, nor did they dare to say anything. So I just said, "Premier Zhu, can I go with you?"
3 of them went in a manner that may seem unimaginable in today's China. The Communist Party officials spoke with the people. They ordered the release of some arrested practitioners. The group in Beijing quietly left after hearing the news. But the goodwill didn't last long.
The same night, the Public Security Bureau came to my research center to investigate. They dug out every single piece of information about me.
2 months later, the Chinese Communist Party launched a nationwide mass arrest of Falun Gong practitioners. They used the April gathering as their main justification. State media claimed the demonstrators had surrounded and attacked the government compound, even though in reality, zero violence occurred. Shi was later sent to a re-education camp. Inside, police tortured him and forced him to renounce the practice. He fled to the U.S. in 2002. Many were less lucky. The practice has suffered more than 3,000 confirmed deaths by state-sponsored torture and abuse. Though the April 25th appeal didn't prevent further persecution, Shi says it let the world see there are still people willing to speak out, despite the Chinese regime's past atrocities.
Demonstrators gathered at China's leadership compound on Sunday in the largest demonstration in Beijing in a decade. The peaceful protest by devotees of Falun Gong was...
People will see not all Chinese are communists. Even though society is getting more complicated and morality is in decline, people with good thoughts will see that there are still kind people and people who insist on doing righteous things. They will not casually give up or submit.
Penny Zhou, NTD News.
Around 100 Falun Gong practitioners rallied in front of the Chinese consulate in Los Angeles. They're here for one reason: to draw attention to what they see as Beijing's escalating suppression of their beliefs in Hong Kong. As Beijing tightens its grip on the city, Falun Gong practitioners are in a tricky situation. The spiritual group has been brutally persecuted in mainland China for the past 2 decades. But the group found refuge in Hong Kong when the city still enjoyed some freedom and democracy. Falun Gong is a meditation practice based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. It became immensely popular in China in the 90s, with over 70 million people practicing it. But the regime launched a nationwide persecution campaign against the practice in 1999, aiming to destroy it. Since then, millions have been detained and tortured. At least 4,000 have been killed. Overseas Falun Gong practitioners have been trying to put an end to the persecution. In Hong Kong, they've set up information booths and passed out flyers to raise awareness about the human rights abuses. But recently, masked men have been seen vandalizing the booths.
Why?
In one area, offenders sprayed paint on signs and shredded banners. In other places, perpetrators tore down information boards. They also pushed a Falun Gong practitioner to the ground. Members of the spiritual group suspect the men are tied to the Chinese Communist Party, as the pro-Beijing group has been harassing them at the information booths for years.
This behavior is a violation of human rights and an insult to us Falun Gong practitioners. I'm very angry about it, and I'm here to protest against it.
For Pauline Ye, it's especially painful to see Hong Kong lose its freedom. She lives in Los Angeles right now, but is originally from Hong Kong.
Hong Kong used to be a very nice place, and we weren't willing to leave.
Hong Kong used to be a British colony. The UK handed over to Chinese control in 1997. At the time, the Chinese regime promised it would grant the city 50 years of freedom. Ye said at the time she thought the regime would keep its word.
We thought we could go back more often, develop our careers, or do some business there.
But in just a little over 2 decades, the Chinese regime started cracking down. It overhauled the city's election system and pushed a bill that depletes freedom of speech. The U.S. State Department has since affirmed that Hong Kong is no longer autonomous. Ye and other rally-goers hope the event can attract more attention to human rights in Hong Kong and help keep the last bit of freedom that's left there. Juliet Song, NTD News.
HB 1057 creates an annual Memorial Day for victims of communism, and it commemorates, or it is set on November 7th, which is the day that the Bolsheviks seized power from the Russian government and established the first ever communist regime.
In just 100 years, communism has been responsible for the deaths of at least 100 million innocent people. This is more than any other event in human history. Oliverson tells NTD this is why we need to dedicate a day to commemorate those people. Texas State Representative Tom Oliverson introduced House Bill 1057 earlier this year, and it passed the Texas House overwhelmingly last week. A Senate committee is currently looking at the bill.
So that we never forget the tragedy, just the unbelievable human tragedy that communism has left in its wake, and so that our children and our children's children never forget that communism makes a lot of empty promises and delivers on misery.
He says when he talks to people, we have escaped communist regimes. He always reminded of how miserable life is under communism. Oliverson fears that young people in this country aren't aware of those atrocities. He gives forced organ harvesting in communist China as an example.
I was horrified in conversations that I've had recently to learn of the Chinese government's abuses of political prisoners by forcing them to donate organs for transplantation against their will. In fact,
researchers say these innocent, unwilling donors die painfully in the operating tables. It's a secretive and extremely lucrative venture for China's communist regime. To stop forced organ harvesting in China, Oliverson has introduced another bill that will prohibit Texas from awarding research grants to entities that partner with Chinese hospitals in organ transplantation. Going forward, he hopes people can take a moment on November 7th to think about the atrocities of communism.
hopefully, just like we remember the Holocaust and we remember the horrors of the Nazi regime and fascism, that we would also remember, equally so, that communism itself is an equal, if not greater, threat to innocent human life.
Oliverson urges people who have left communist countries to speak up and share their life experiences. In 2017, then-President Donald Trump established the first National Day for victims of communism on November 7th. Since then, at least 10 states have followed suit. Florida lawmakers unanimously passed similar legislation on Wednesday. Allison Lee, NTD News.
Don't miss out on important news. Our videos are being deleted. So if you don't want to be cut off from honest news, take a moment to sign up for our newsletter at newsletter.ntd.com so you don't lose access to NTD. Go to newsletter.ntd.com to sign up for our evening newsletter.